ahead and call the meeting to order, please. I'm going to ask Eric one more time. We've got to get these microphones fixed. And years ago, when we had meetings, we only had about 4 or 5 people in here. So it's important now that if I talk loud to my wife, she says I'm yelling at her. But I want to make sure you can hear me, so tell me if you can't. But let me go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you would, stand and join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, council members, you received our last agenda that was approved after the work session. Any changes to that, Eric?
No, sir.
Nothing to change? Okay. You're not removing one of the...
We were going to ask to table an item
Okay.
when we got to it.
All right. Okay, well then, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Chris. Second. By Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have Dennis Holt has signed up to speak to us, so come up front, Dennis.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Holt. I live at 343 Old Canton Road. You can find my house easily because there are 9 white houses above me and 6 white houses below me. If you give me a second here, I cannot read my own handwriting anymore, so I've had to put this on my phone. So if you'll bear with me. I'd like to thank the city for putting up the 4-way stop at Chestnut Mound. And as I've mentioned before, we now need 3-way stops on either ends of Chestnut, Depot, and Beck Street. I am out with my dog Bella, a little miniature Dachshund, many times a day and night, and sometimes late in the evening, falling behind David Grogan with his dog. But we do need 3-way stops at the ends of Chestnut Depot and Beck Street, bordering Valley and Old Canton. Personally, I'm out early in the morning gardening, and I'm seeing people flying down Valley Street, totally ignoring 25 miles an hour. I believe a lot of the residents in the historic district feel like that the stop signs would make an effort to slow things down. A neighbor of mine, Alan Lee, next door to Chris, has recently coined a phrase, "Stop and survive the historic district." I thought that was appropriate. Everyone I've talked to in the historic district has supported 3-way stops on Valley and Old Canton to slow down traffic. I would personally like to thank Chris Rogers for moving forward on my request on making Ball Ground more ADA compliant. In case you don't know what the acronym ADA means, it's American Disabilities Act. We have numerous sidewalk trip hazards, inadequate and missing intersection ramps, and crossings. All of you, except for possibly the kid over here, are only a simple fall away from having use a cane, mobility scooter, or wheelchair. If you've ever watched somebody use a cane to try to get up on a curb, it's upsetting. My wife, I have to assist her to get up. We recently got her a mobility scooter, and she is now unable, we didn't realize this, to access Main Street from Mount Street without driving her scooter in the traffic with vehicles. The reason for this is there is no sidewalk on the recently denied development side, only very rough gravel. The city could do a real nice favor to everybody and put at least crush run, that's the smoothing stuff, at least smooth that out a little bit. Also, the other issue on the other side of the street is at the corner of Oscar's Rock Shop, there are steps going down to Main Street instead of a bevel or a ramp. So she literally has to get off the sidewalk on that side and go down at least 150 feet in the middle of the road to be able to get to Main Street. One other thing is it doesn't really make a good impression on visitors to have to walk down the middle of the street to cross a railroad track from Valley to Main Street to get some ice cream because there's no sidewalk across the railroad tracks. I understand that this is being pursued right now with the railroad. Concerning the distillery, personally, I love sitting on the porch in the evening with a good bourbon. Nothing better. Okay, I know you partake once in a while, Mayor. However, five of the 9 agenda items tonight are about alcohol. This is very upsetting to me. I didn't know until recently that distilleries are a significant mold hazard, and that there are a number of community class action lawsuits in Kentucky against distilleries for mold around areas of distilleries affecting health. I personally have severe mold and mildew allergies. We have other citizens, young and old, also who have allergies or on breathing assistance. We have one very prominent senior citizen on breathing assistance that lives on Groover Street behind the proposed distillery. I really don't know anybody that wants Main Street to turn into a string of alcohol establishments. This is only going to increase the possibility of public drunkenness, especially during city events, which would be a bad reflection on the city. We want Ball Ground to stay family-oriented and a Main Street with nothing but Main Street. However, with nothing but alcohol establishments, that's obviously not family-oriented. I appreciate that. I think I'm less than 3 minutes, Daryl. Right there?
That's your stop.
I'm
Okay.
done. Oh, I do have this to share with the council, and I'll start that with Andy. This is an article dealing with the lawsuits in Kentucky on mold issues with distilleries. And I have read quite a bit of that. I don't know, you know that I'm a scientist. I have degrees in geology, physics, etc. Not so much on biology, but I do know enough about biology to know that mold is hazardous, especially to me and senior citizens and anybody with allergies. So I hope you will think about this when you're considering the distillery application. Distilleries are great. I've been on a lot of tours, but they don't need to be in downtown areas. Thank you.
Okay, Dennis, thank you for your comments, and we'll consider what you're asking. I mentioned the ADA issue. You know, that's a historic downtown, and actually it got exempt from having to do that, but that's something we're working on to do it anyway, because it is hazardous. There are parts of, and it's interesting that, I'm sorry to make this comment, but during the pandemic, when it started and we were held at home, that's when I started walking all over the city, and Eric got kind of fix this, because we found out, because it needs to be safe. I agree, but I appreciate your comments. Okay, that's all. That's the only person we have speaking tonight. All right. This time, I'll go to Eric with announcements.
General announcements, the October 22nd movie in the park has been canceled. October 28th, the police department and other public safety entities will be hosting the public safety spooktacular and trunk or treat in the community building parking lot. November 5th will be the Ball Ground Rocks Festival, takeoff on Barbecue and Brews. And December 2nd is the March of the Toys for Tots Parade.
Okay. This time, let's move to approving the minutes from a work session and the last meeting. Any changes, comments? Not. A motion to approve both sets of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Motion by Dennis,
Second.
by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody's opposed to the minutes. Congratulations, Karen. At this time, we're going to move into a public hearing on our comprehensive plan that we're actually updating. And let me call on Chris to provide the background and explain what we're going to be doing, as we're required by law to do that every 5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is that time of the decade again that we go through the process of updating our comprehensive plan. We did this 5 years ago, back in 2018. And like the mayor said, this is something that we are required by law to do. So every community in the state of Georgia is going to go through this comprehensive planning process. So part of this process, the state does require us to have 2 public hearings. The first public hearing is tonight's public hearing. That's a kickoff meeting. So really quickly, this is just a few slides. I'll give you a little bit of information on kind of what a comp plan is. I'll announce a couple key dates, and then at the end we'll wrap it up by hearing from the public. I'll just point out that the state law requires this public comment period tonight to be about the process. If you have concerns or ideas about the community on things such as development, transportation, infrastructure projects, your voices can be heard in two ways that I'll talk about. So again, when we open it up for public comments, it's just to give us your thoughts on the process. So what is a comprehensive plan? You've probably heard that word or those words. A lot of people really don't like to open up the document and look at it. It's kind of something that people like me get excited about, but the general public maybe not so much. But what it is it's just a document that establishes a vision for the city. It's intended to guide kind of our future over the next 5 years. So there's a lot of talk in there about development, ways that the city can invest in things like ADA projects. A big component of it is a future land use map that the city council really uses as a tool when they're making decisions on things like rezonings. And like we said, this is something we have to do every 5 years by law. Without a comprehensive plan that's been blessed by the state, we don't have access to things like state funding or the federal dollars that flow through the state to cities. So we get cut off from a lot of resources if we don't have one. And just like in years past, we're going to partner with Cherokee County again this year. Cherokee County has a lot of resources, a lot of expertise, and they've actually gone and hired an expert in comprehensive planning, and that is Pond and Company. So kind of a general overview of the process here. Right now we're in the early stage of research and discovery. So we're compiling information. We're looking at the existing conditions of the city. Last week, Cherokee County planners came to town along with the consultants from Pond and Company, and we did a tour of Ball Ground and showed them, just a variety of what we have going on here. So that phase will kind of go on for a few months, and then it will overlap with this vision phase. This vision phase is where you all get to come to a public input meeting, meet with city staff, meet with county staff, meet with Pond and Company planners, and share your thoughts. So we'll go through this visioning process, and then once we've kind of heard everything from you all, and we've done our research and discovery, we'll begin to develop and kind of establish those policies and guidelines that your elected officials will use for the next 5 years in their decision making. And so what does all this lead into? It all leads into kind of this one big package, a document called the Comprehensive Plan. Part of that is that future land use map. It's an assessment of the city. It's a demographic study of the city. It's an evaluation of where we were in the past 5 years, and it kind of sets some goals for the next 5 years. So I mentioned dates. Tonight, October 13th, this is the kickoff public hearing. A big one to put on your calendars is going to be October 25th from 6 to 7:30. You don't have to be here right at 6. This is kind of a drop-by open house. So there will be no formal presentation that you have to get here and get a good seat for. It's just going to be, come as you are, meet with everybody, provide your input. So please, again, October 25th, put that down, and that'll be right here in council chambers. Up until then, this is already open, but closing on November 18th is an online version of this. So if you can't make that October 25th meeting here in-house, you can participate 24/7 online by going to CherokeeGA.com/OurCherokee. Mayor, if you can click on that link for just a second.
It's on my screen. Yep.
Again, CherokeeGA.com/OurCherokee for the online participation. That's open 24/7, so please do check it out. But then, from kind of November on into next year, we'll be working on that plan, putting all the pieces together, everything we've heard from you all, everything we've kind of researched, studied, learned about the city. And then once we have all that packaged together, we send it off to the Department of Community Affairs, where they will then go through their review process, make sure that we're checking all the boxes in what we're doing up here. They'll provide some suggestions or some necessary edits and send it back to us. We'll then finalize the document, and then sometime before October 31st of next year, it will have to come here before City Council for a second public hearing where you all, the public, can again weigh in on everything, and then City Council will make the decision on adoption. So, again, the purpose of the public hearing tonight is to, if anybody has any input on the process, please do share it with us. You've seen the timeline, you've heard a little bit about how this is all going to go over the next year. If we leave here tonight and you have some question or a comment or a suggestion, my email is on the screen. It's C-L-U-L-Y, Chris Luley, at cityofballground.com, or you can call us here at City Hall and get to me that way, and I'm all ears, so thank you.
Okay, anybody want to make a comment about the process? Chris, this is, I'm trying to think when this was put into place. Was it early 90s maybe?
When comprehensive plans were required,
Right.
before my time.
Well, my point is, this is something that we have to redo the plan every 10 years and update it every 5 years. Update what you redo, but so we've been doing this for a number of times, haven't we, Eric? So it's not something that we had never done before. That's so you can even our existing plan is available if anybody wants to look at that. But over the years, we've actually built that plan and pretty well followed it. So, but again, part of the requirement from the state is that we have to update it every 5 years. So this is what we're doing.
Mr. Mayor, is that plan on the website, the current plan?
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
In your discovery phase, and part of your due diligence, are you sharing the information you're gathering with the public so they can review in real time things that are being considered or what you're looking at?
I don't think we'll be able to share it in real time.
Prior to the next meeting where people can voice concerns and objections?
Yes, we'll make it a point to get it out there to the public, so there is a time for you all to say, hey, this doesn't check out, please look into this, or, yeah, we'll have it out there.
Okay.
But when the part that we're available online for, you'll be able to. I don't think the names are on it, but it goes to the whole process through the county. Ball Ground and Waleska are the only two cities that join the county in doing this, and it's to me it's just the best thing to do because we don't have to hire somebody to handle it. That's very costly. But in our past experiences, the county's been very good at assisting us with this. But the county will be receiving the online comments, right?
Yes.
And that they'll be distributed at some point. So, any other questions? Okay. Well, again, we'll have it's on the 25th.
Yes, October 25th, 6 to 7:30.
We'll have a public hearing then to deal with not the process, but actually things that people would like to see put in our plan or changed in our plan. All right, let's move to old business now. We have 3 items of old business, and every one is a second reading of something we approved, had the first reading of in last month. So the first item, old business, is the second reading of amendment to the code of the City of Ball Ground, the alcohol ordinance. It changes the distance required between churches and schools to where alcohol is sold, and also property adjacent to a school or a church. Eric, you want to?
No
Say anything
changes
more
since
than that?
first reading, sir.
So we need a motion to approve the second reading of that change.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, Vicki. Second.
Second.
Chris. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That's in effect now. The second item under old business is the amendment concerning golf carts. Under our existing ordinance, golf carts are not defined. And so this is a definition for golf carts, so they don't include anything on four wheels. So any other
Yeah.
comment?
Yeah, we did have a definition of golf cart in the ordinance, but it was not consistent with the state code on their definition. So we're amending to have a motorized cart, which gives descriptions of, but includes golf cart as part of that definition. It's just so we're consistent with state code.
Okay, and I said we actually had the first reading in September. So could I have a motion to approve the second reading of this?
Make a motion
Amendment.
to approve the second reading.
Okay, motion by Dennis, second.
Second by Andy.
Andy? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's now in effect. Third item under old business is second reading of the International Property Maintenance Code. That code we follow, it changes all the time, so this actually increases, it makes us more in line with what we need to be at the state level and the national level. We've talked about it, council, at the work sessions, and it's a recommendation that we do this, and I'll ask for a motion to approve this as the second reading.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Chris, second.
Second.
Dennis? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. So that's in effect now. Now we move to new business. There was a comment that I don't think we've ever had as many alcohol-related items on the agenda in my career here, but we do have we have 3 alcohol licenses that are being transferred. They're already in place, and it's just people are either buying the business or transferring it to another person. And Eric, you want to give some background on that?
Partners in Education.
Oh, I've skipped it. Well, let's go. Can we go ahead and cover this now?
The
Say something about that.
what we have is we have 3 businesses that have changed hands. All 3 of those businesses do currently sell alcohol. So they're looking to transfer the license from the existing owner to the new owner. Those 3 entities are Le Bon Temps downtown, for the new owner to be Christopher Carter. The second one is the Chevron down at the Always Stop at Howell Bridge. That has also changed hands, so transferring to the new owner. And the third one is the one we're asking to table. That is the Ball Ground Tavern. As we followed up with things, that still will be an application for transfer. One partner bought out the other partner, needs a license in his name, but they missed a advertising window. So that license cannot be approved until it's properly advertised. So we are asking to table the application for Guadalupe at Ball Ground Tavern, and the other 2 are straight transfers.
Okay, so at this time, could I ask a motion to approve for Le Bon Temps, the transfer of that license?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Chris, second. By Vicky. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And we'll move to the Chevron Food Market. Again, owners have changed and we're transferring the license. So I have a motion to approve the transfer.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Chris, second. Andy? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the third one is what Eric talked about. We need to is for Ball Ground Tavern. We need to table that until the advertising is done as required. So a motion to table that request, okay. By Andy, second.
Second.
By Dennis. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. And that'll be probably handled if the advertising is complete, probably at our next meeting. What's the time period? As long as
It could be at the next meeting, or depending on what happens if we do a second, if the proposed ordinance change passes tonight and approves the second reading, then staff would handle that one in the future because
Be
it's
your
a
first one.
transfer.
The first one to do. Okay, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, let me go back to the approval for the partnership agreement with the Cherokee County school system. Let me comment that this is something that when Dr. Petrozello joined the school system in '99, he put together at every school. He created one of these partnerships that we did, and the city had been since day one part of the school on the committee, and I served on it for a long time. Karen is serving on it now, and it changed everything. I'm glad Dr. Petrozello, he's gone now, but we have a school here because of him, a new school, and he changed a lot. But this was the first step in changing our school board and our education system here in the county, was creating these committees at every school. So so that's what this partnership agreement is. We do this every year, and so I assume the council will approve this. I ask for a motion to approve the partnership agreement that runs from August, from now to next year. Have a motion to approve? Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. Vicki and Chris? Again, this is a big, important part of the quality of our school system, is having these committees at every school, made up of community and teachers to create a good school system. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. So we'll act on that at this time next year. All right, the last item under new business is, excuse me, I'm looking at my old calendar, my agenda. This is consideration of a annexation petition by Lee Lusk. This property is on the east side of the core city, on 372. It's within the growth boundary that we had approved with the county. So, what is it, 11 and a half acres?
Roughly 11.45.
And this request is to annex, but there's no rezoning requested. It will maintain its R40 zoning. So, but we just have to go through the process. So, council has to approve any annexation. So, any other comment, Eric, you want to add to that?
No, sir.
But it is on the, again, it's on the, I guess, the northeast side of the city. It's just near Flat Bottom Road, on the other side of 372, 11.5 acres. Okay, a motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve?
Andy, motion.
Okay. Andy, second.
Second.
Dennis? Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, that we'll have the second reading of that next month. But again, it's in this situation, there's no rezoning being dealt with because it's already zoned what's going to remain. So that's easier for sure. The next item is concerning the alcohol ordinance. As you know, we've dealt with 3 transfers here tonight, and most cities allow that when you're not approving for the first time the issuing of the license. They usually let their staff do it, and so that's what Eric is asking that we consider doing. You want to give any more of that information?
No, that's basically it. Again, this cannot be at a new location. These are at locations previously approved by mayor and council. It's simply transferring a license between new owners.
It still has to be approved at state level for the new owner?
Yes, they have to go through the same background check, same issues with the state, the same advertising. It just prevents your agenda from having 3 or 4 transfers on a month.
Okay, so that's why you say if we approve this, then we won't be doing it that we tabled. The one we tabled tonight, it'll be handled by the staff if we approve it. So at this point, let me ask for a motion to approve, and we'll comment, we'll discuss it. Motion to approve?
I'll make the motion. Andy did.
Okay. Andy, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now, any discussion, comments on?
How'd you know that?
I sensed it. I sensed it.
Eric, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Real fast. Does this say, this is the ordinance right here, but does it say it must be at the same location? I was trying to speed read.
Well, it's a transfer, so you
Right.
can't transfer if it's not at the same location.
Okay.
How long are these licenses good for?
12
How long will they last?
12 months.
12 months just-
Well, let me till December 31st. They expired December 31st. Everybody then has to renew. Renewals are already done at staff level as they renew. And I believe, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that when there's less than 6 months left in a year, I believe a license is prorated for the amount of months remaining, and that it automatically expires December 31st.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, got a motion. Let's vote on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that'll take alcohol transfer, license transfers off the council agenda going forward. Council only deals with new licenses, new locations. So that will facilitate things. All right, that's all we have for new business tonight. At this point, Eric, you want to give your presentation?
Start out with our fund balances. Closed the last month in the general fund with $708,000 cash on hand. Of that, approximately $170,000 is obligated, with the remainder left for general operations. In SPLOST, we have $242,000 on hand. Fire, which is a pass-through to Cherokee County, is $6,278. In our utilities, we're at $1,136,782 cash on hand, for a total of $2,093,927. In remaining American Recovery Funds, we have $82,720, and those are funds that have been allocated for improvement of the turn radius Groover Street onto Old Canton Road. For September of '22, our revenue in general fund was $60,000 with expenses of $174,000. Year to date, we're at $383,000 on revenue, $383,000 on expenses. I will say that's unusual for this time of year because this is our July, August, and September is our non-revenue season. October begins when we start taking in the bulk of our funds for the year. So we're right now about $140,000 better than budget projections. On SPLOST, our revenue for the month was $66,000 against expenses of approximately $23,000. Utilities, our revenue for the month was $146,000 against expenses of $148,000. Our audit team has completed their on-site field work. They were here for a week, now working on financial statements, and they're still pouring through records on their end, but they've done all the local testing, and that has been complete. There were no notable remarks from the auditor on the exit interview, and we anticipate probably the briefing from the auditor to mayor and council in January. At the staff level, we've begun to work on a hotel motel tax concept to present. Airbnb and VRBO are now required participants in that. We have more and more Airbnb and VRBO coming up in the city. This is one that's on Gilmer Ferry. We will need assistance from the state legislature, need to introduce local legislation to enact that in the city, but those are funds that we can start to spend on tourism, helping with things like concerts, the fireworks display, and things like that, instead of coming out of the normal operating funds. We've also received a proposal that staff is going through now. I have copies in my office. I'll get one for all the elected officials this evening to take home with them, from Ross and Associates for the implementation and taking us through the process to adopt impact fees. The two areas we asked them to assess would be transportation, which is roads, sidewalks, trails, and also for parks. The proposal to take us through that process is estimated at 9 months for $55,350. But they'll take through the process, the beginning of which would be an assessment of all our current infrastructure, and then doing growth projections through 2045 and what needs to be done to handle that growth, and these funds could be used for that in parks and transportation. Capital improvement plan, we have received several comments on it. Nothing for any changes. I will say the most popular thing on it right now is the splash pad. I've had a lot of feedback on that. So not much about the roundabout, not much about the truck route, but quite a bit about a splash pad. So I thought that was interesting.
Good or bad?
I mean, it's no good. There were positive comments.
We do, we're going to have almost going to debate.
On capital projects, the police station, I'm estimating now we're going to be 30 days late. We were supposed to be in the first week of November. Made a lot of headway the last couple of days, but I think it's going to push. We're down to just trying to finish the little things. And but I do think we'll be in by the first week of December. Currently, we're about $135,000 under budget on the project. Gutters and columns, we're hoping that they'll go in next week. Final grade and landscape, they've made a lot of headway there in the last couple of days. Should finish final grade tomorrow. Still lacks some millwork in the squad room, and working on a punch list, do a final walkthrough with the contractor on interior cosmetics. Old Dawsonville Road, they should do the last of the curbing concrete pours on Monday and Tuesday of next week. We think we've come up with a workaround waiting on Georgia Power for the pole relocations, that we can actually fit some things in and just leave out a couple of small spaces so that we can get the contractor in to do the resurfacing and paving and get that road in better condition before winter. Old Dawsonville Road to Mountain Brook sidewalk connection, the preliminary engineering has been completed. Making assessments now on the amount of right-of-way that will need to be acquired and the number of construction easements that will need to be acquired to get that done. Also find out if the original budget estimate of $1,002,000 is going to be accurate on that project. On the bypass and roundabout, the proposals for engineering have been received. They're being reviewed now. We anticipate that in November, the Cherokee County Board of Commissioners will select the engineer and award that project and get engineering underway so we can get to construction. Again, we've already paid our funds and obligations on that project. From this point on, it's county funded and driven. I mentioned earlier the Groover at Old Dawsonville project. Roads and Streets Committee will be meeting with the proposed contractor on that probably in 2 weeks. Get a scope of what will happen there and get a timeline on this project. Again, this project, if you're familiar with this area, the sidewalk is about 2.5 feet, in some places maybe a little bit more, lower than the road, making that a hazard for pedestrians. Also, the east side of that sidewalk is a drop-off of 3 or 4 feet with no railing. So this project would also include putting in a retaining wall, elevating that, the black wrought iron fence like we have out here on the back side of it, curb gutter, and getting that sidewalk up at road level where it needs to be. Veterans Memorial, landscaping is supposed to go in next week. The flags are due in next week. I think we got the lights aimed this morning. Power's installed, so it's really taking shape and doing well. And Councilmember Benefield went up to, she'd done people for money, but she went up to Amicalola and picked up a check for $5,000 that's going a long way on this. So I think the donations now, I'll tell you, just over 30,000 towards this. So it's been a great community support. There are no tax dollars in this project. This is through fundraising. Turn radius improvement on State Route 372 is finally complete. Doesn't look like anybody's running on the grass. The murals that are proposed for downtown, we do have the draft contract. We have sent that this afternoon to both building owners. It's about as simple as you can get. So we've got away from the long ones that everybody else had, and I believe that they'll both approve them, I think. So we look forward to hearing back from them. UGA, depending on weather, they can still fit us in this fall, or it could be spring. But the important thing, get the paperwork signed, get the leases done where they can do it whenever they have time. On paving, the notice to proceed for paving Lowry Street has been issued. We have canceled for right now the survey for widening of Lowry Street. Property has been purchased out there by a developer. There's no plans come forth or anything else, but when we talked with the roads committee, it was like if they want to do something out there, they'll need to build a new road. And so right now we'll resurface it so our customers out there have a better riding surface, and any development will pay for improvements. Oh, mentioned too, the contract has been let and notice to proceed for the striping of Depot Street and the reestablishment of the crosswalks at Depot and Valley. Downtown crosswalks, Civic has now been installed and all crosswalks are functional and operational. Water and sewer, we were bragging a little bit ago, but we tell you it's always a matter of time on pumps. So it's, there you go. Old Mill lift station, we have a bent shaft in there, so we're down a pump. Sage Hill, we're waiting on gaskets, so we're limping along at Sage Hill. Howell Bridge, we have a seal failure. And Subway, we have a burned pump. So what you're looking at right there, I always remind people our water sewer fund looks so good at over $1 million, but we're looking at $100,000 right there of taking care of pumps. So it looks nice in the bank, but it goes quick. We've also ordered automated weather stations for 2 locations. One is for here at City Hall. The other one is for the Mountain Brook lift station. We'll be able to connect these real time to our pump data, which will help us determine what points of our system are getting the most stormwater infiltration into the sewer. As we track that, we can narrow the system down. We have an estimate to smoke test our system, which is how you find where the water is getting into your system. And we're paying about $5, $6 for every 1,000 gallons that we treat. So we don't like to treat rainwater. So So when we narrow down the part of the system, we'll smoke test a small part of the system to find that infiltration. To do the entire system is $335,000. So we'll narrow it down to a small spot and find it from there. We have applied for a $1.1 million grant for a $2 million project. Two items, one, a 300,000 gallon water tank, and that's what it would look like there on the left. Putting that at Public Works next to our existing elevated tank. And then our line extension and connection to Mountain Brook to provide a secondary water service, but also a higher pressure service to that community. On public safety, Department had 954 calls for service, 184 total traffic stops on 104 citations. Mentioned earlier, they'll be operating Spooktacular on October 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. They're also getting ready to kick off Coffee with a Cop. They're talking with the folks at Barrel House, getting the right time set up where they can do that. And also working with the folks at the Senior Center to start doing some classes there with the seniors on identity protection and fraud prevention. Planning and zoning, Chris already mentioned the October 25th, 6 p.m., our comp plan public input session. He's also started meeting with individual council members on upcoming changes or proposed changes to the zoning ordinance. So those meetings have started. We issued 5 building permits for the month, and also on the front page of the website, the question earlier, is the comp plan up there? It is, but also the link is there on the website that we were trying to show on the slides, where you can actually go in, take a survey, provide feedback on what you'd like to see in a comprehensive plan. But there's also an interactive map there where you can drop pins on a map of ball ground and highlight things that you don't like, highlight things that you would think we need more of, whether it's parks or whether it's whatever it might be. It's just a chance for you to provide that feedback, and then all that data is collected and assessed. A lot of work in GIS mapping this month also. It's amazing what we're able to do with GIS now. They're working on the water line identification project to determine what all types, line sizes, and materials we have in the system. Also gathering the meter locations so we can get within a couple feet on the ground of where they are. And we've mentioned before the inventory we're having to do now on our connections for EPA on lead and copper rules. And we're about 10% complete on that inventory. The deadline for that is October of 2024. So we believe we'll be done in March or April of this year. That's our goal. So we want to be well ahead of that deadline. And that's all my comments for this evening, if there's any questions.
Council, any questions? Okay. Thank you, Eric. I might mention the GIS. That is something for a city our size to have that kind of information available to the whole world. It's amazing. I mean, it's kind of like we get awards for our financial reporting. To be a city our size, it's unusual to get that, but the GIS allows you now to look at anything you need to know about the city, and you can be across the world, didn't it? Because it's online. But I'm glad we did that. We worked jointly with the county in putting that in place. I'm going to mention one thing. We're not, at council meetings, we're not going to have as much conversation as we've in the past, because we're having work sessions every month now. And so we're actually doing more, bringing things up. One thing I didn't bring up that I want to mention, because Dennis mentioned the historic district. We are still on hold in putting together a historic preservation ordinance. And I really hope we can do that. Maybe by the end of the year, put together a committee to start creating an ordinance, because we do have, Ball Ground, we have a lot of historic areas and buildings that we need to be online with other cities that have that kind of preservation, so they're handled correctly and not, we don't lose them if we have some requirements to do with historic properties. But I'd like to put that forth to try to put a committee together before the end of the year to act on that next year. Andy, anything you want to bring up? Okay, Vicki?
Yes. I think that our November the 11th Veterans Ceremony is going to be before our next council meeting. So I wanted to invite everybody and maybe save the date for November the 11th at 1 o'clock. Our ceremony will be out here at our new memorial. As a matter of fact, it's all lit up right there. It looks good. Just invite everybody.
When is our November meeting?
Oh, it's going to be the day after then, so I
Yeah,
have to repeat what I just
Right,
said.
our council meeting right the day before the
Okay.
Veterans Day.
Okay, here you go.
So, well, you can do that. You can repeat it.
Repeat it again.
No, it's going to be a fantastic event. I believe personally, I'm just so happy we've got this done after talking about it so long. And Roger, I said, he's been a big advocate of us moving on this. The Veterans Monument, should I say birthday boy today? Today's his birthday. But anyway, that's going to be a big important part of our city to have it done. Chris?
No, nothing tonight.
Okay.
You forgot Dennis.
Oh, I jumped over. I saved you last. Mr. Nelson.
I'd like to just say thank you to Vicki and of course Eric for the Veterans Memorial. Tremendous amount of work and community involvement as far as financial, which is what we needed. It's really, really looking good, and it looks great with the lights. This morning about 5 o'clock I came through here and I thought that City Hall got some new lights. I had no idea that they were already functioning. And it looks great. It's going to look great when the flags are on it. Thank you.
It will. Shaw, Daryl, anything you want to bring up?
No, Mayor. I'm good.
Karen, you're the last one I'll ask.
No, sir, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I go one more time?
Sure.
I had the opportunity today, went by and visited with Mr. Prettyman, and he asked to be remembered to everybody. He does not feel well, but as bad as he felt today, he wanted to make sure we had a quorum for tonight, or he'd find a way to get here. And but he's got a road ahead of him, but he's got a good attitude. And it was good to visit with him, but he just wanted to be remembered to everybody, and thank you for all your thoughts and prayers.
Well, let's hope he recovers, because he's been a big part of our council for, 16 years? 18? 18, yeah, 18. So that's a long time.
One thing that Lee always said, I want to thank our police officers and our work crews about the water and sewer and the streets. He always brags on them, so I'd like to brag a little bit about him tonight for Lee.
Well, you're right. That was a standard for him, and it was important to bring that up, because we're lucky. I'll go ahead and let Mary, since we're.
I forgot to sign up. There's going to be a meet and greet this coming Sunday from 2 to 4 at the community center next to the pickleball courts. And at that time, you'll get to meet the candidates running for post 2. Thank you. For post 2. And you'll get to meet and talk with Scott, but you'll also get to meet and talk to each of your individual council members that will be there. And that's a great time for you to come in and, instead of just going on our illustrious Facebook pages and complain, I said, go and talk to them Sunday and ask you, talk about your concern for them. Thank you, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for letting us know. I didn't know it. So, that's important, I think, for our officials, our elected officials running for office. It's important to have that opportunity. So, thank you for bringing that up. Okay. We had lasted an hour. This is maybe the shortest council meeting we've had, but can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay. And thanks for coming. It's good to have a lot of interested people.